We call the WPCA, North WPCA meeting of January 16th to order. It is 5:30 and we do have a quorum. Item number 2, is there any members of the public present who wish to be heard? Is there anybody in the waiting room? Can anybody?
There is not.
Nobody there.
Nope.
Okay, it is 5:31. Item number 3, approve the meeting minutes from the WPCA meeting held on December 18th. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
So moved.
By Mr. Igneri, any comments, corrections, revisions, suggested improvements? No? Under item 2, public input, guests at the WPCA meeting may speak to any item on the agenda. Should be may instead. Amy, I saw nothing else. Anything else? Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Okay, it's Bovee, Ostafine, Igneri, Manella, and Mr. Freyer, Ms. Smith. You can vote if you want to.
Abstain.
I
Abstain.
abstain as well.
Okay, 2 abstentions, passes with popular vote. 5:32. Item number 4, authorize the Chief Operation of Public Works to issue orders on contract with Colonia Construction, Concrete and Asphalt Paving LLC. Dreamy Hollow Betts Brook Area Drainage Sanitary Sewer Water Main Replace Improvement Project for the amount of not to exceed $250,000, drawings enclosed. Is there a motion to authorize the Chief of Operation? By Ms. Smith, any presentation by staff?
Sure. So DPW's project in the Dreamy Hollow area is to improve stormwater drainage. In addition, they've been doing sanitary sewer improvements. This change order, issue orders that we're asking for will provide 2 catch basins on Dry Hill Road in the project vicinity to be disconnected from the sanitary sewer and reconnected to the storm drain system. In addition to those 2 catch basins, there are 3 dry wells by Rustic Lane and Dry Hill Road that will be tied to a new storm drainage system. So additional drainage improvements will be made.
Any comments or questions from the board? No? Okay, is there any public works money going towards this, or this is all on us?
No, this was actually a request by WPCA since we're trying to disconnect catch basins tied to sanitary sewer, and there's that opportunity to disconnect 2.
Okay.
So it meets our long-term goal with the state in regard to our consent order.
Great. Okay, any other comments? Questions? Okay. 5:34. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor? Aye. Bovee, Ostafine, Igneri, Freyer, Manella, Smith, passes unanimously. Thank you. 5:34, we go on to item number 5. Schedule public hearing for proposed FY 24-25 sewer user rates on Tuesday, February 20th at 5:30 p.m. Is there a motion to schedule the public hearing? Mr. Freyer. Any comments or is there a presentation from staff?
Not for this item. The next item is our financial model updates. Our rates are based off our financial model needs. So the water and current team is here. So in item 6, we're going to talk about it.
Okay. So then we'll call the question. All in favor of scheduling the meeting? Bovee, Ostafine, Igneri, Freyer, Manella, Smith. Passes unanimously. 5:35. Item number 6. Doesn't look like there's any action required. Financial model update, presentation by staff.
Correct. So the WPCA's financial model was created several years ago to take in our plan for the treatment plant, the collection system, and the pump station. Woodard and Curran was contracted by the WPCA and have been doing updates annually as things change with projects, goals, plans for the WPCA. So we asked them to update our financial model for this year for the rates for fiscal year 24-25. And Anthony Catalano, Ken Colbrenner, and Jim Aiken from Woodard and Curran are here. And we have a mini PowerPoint presentation to run through real quick. And the proposed rate for fiscal year 24-25 is 4.5%. So Woodard and Curran, I don't know who wants to start from your end. Thank you for coming.
Jump in, and I think I've got the screen share there, so hopefully that's working.
Yes, it is.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Ralph, for the introduction, and board members, thank you for the time to present. As Ralph described, we've been doing this for a few years, and so for those who have seen this before, might be some familiar information, but wanted to run through some of the assumptions and updates that have changed and how we arrived at the 4.5% recommendation. So just a little bit of background in terms of the introduction. Scope was to update the financial plan and the need for rate adjustments. And in addition to Ralph and Chris, we worked closely with other members of the DPW and City of Norwalk team to review and update the information included in the report. So a couple of the assumptions in terms of what we're doing here. We're looking at a forecast period over the next 5 years through 2029. We have started to build the model out even further as we look at some of the longer term impacts, but recognizing that some of the changes that occur there, really focusing over the next 5 years and based on, starting with the fiscal year 24 approved budget and looking to hold an operating reserve target or cash balance of at least 7 months of the annual operating budget. And we'll see how that plays into how that changes over time. And then debt service coverage, 1.05 times the annual debt service. And as to in terms of the rate increase, then coming effect that first day of the fiscal year once that hits. So this would be projecting forward. A couple others, holding customer accounts and flows steady, so not projecting any growth or decline, and also accounting for some of the uncollectible. We also did have an update this year in terms of the Wilton interconnection, increase that to $800,000 per year based on the recent information, but holding that level for future years, not anticipating an increase there. A couple of the other pieces in terms of how things have been projected going forward, holding 3.5% in terms of increases on an annual basis. And all these are adjustable within the model. And so worked with the finance team as well on that. And also in terms of the bond issues, 30-year terms, 4.6% annual interest rate. And that's something that, again, we've seen, a bit of volatility there of late. So one of the reasons why really focusing on the next 5 years, but again, have the ability to continue to update this going forward. New also this year, 2 new hires starting for fiscal year 25 that have been captured in the budget. And then really the large pieces in terms of the capital improvement program are just over $37 million of sanitary sewer collection rehab work and $30 million of wastewater treatment plant work. And we've built those into over a few years based on when the work is anticipated, but seeing a lot of that driven by the current needs and the consent order work and trying to capture that so that we're able to plan for that accordingly. And so as mentioned, in terms of the objectives to maintain a minimum operating cash reserve and debt service, and fully fund the ongoing operating expenses, capital projects, and that, future debt service with the current revenues. So what we have proposed for increases over the next 5 years, 4.5%, a couple of years, followed by 4% going forward. And this is what that does to the cash reserve. So the blue bars are the current cash investment balances. And as we anticipate those additional capital projects coming on, we see that decreasing over time. The red is the projected at that 3.5% increase of that fund balance target. And so with the current proposed rate structure, see that we're still able to maintain that 7-month buffer, but do see that trend decreasing. So I want to make sure we're planning effectively, going forward. So to summarize what we're looking at, so where you can start to see the rates as well as the projected capital expenditures and some of the large amounts as we carry the collection system and treatment plant costs in there. None of that funded with cash, all with bonding, and what that does to then our operating cash and the days on hand targeting 210, get to just about that at the end of the current 5-year period. And in terms of residential single family, what that looks like from an annual fee basis, where we're at $396 and an increase $18 to $20 per year for that typical single family. So that's what we had to run through. Happy to take any questions or comments. If there's any detail, we have the model, and as Ralph mentioned, Jim here did a lot of work on the model as well. Can get into that if needed.
Any questions or comments from the board?
You have a question. I recall last year we approved, the sewer use increases, and there was the forecast for, about 5 years or so. Has anything changed? Are these percentage increases the same as were projected last year? I remember doing it, but I don't remember the exact projected increases.
Yep.
You want to start?
Yeah.
Maybe do you want to take the screen,
Sure.
the slides down so we can see? Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can pop that back up if needed. So yeah, I believe we're in the same range of about that 4%. What has changed is, I think, projecting some of the treatment plant and collection system costs a little bit further up, and so saying, okay, need to hold that 4.5% for the next couple of years, and then the 4s after that.
Correct. Just to follow up what Ken said is we finalized and submitted the wastewater treatment plant facility plan update to the state the end of September of this year. So those numbers were a little bit higher than we anticipated last year, mostly due to cost of inflation and projecting future construction dates.
Yeah, I mean, that's no surprise, really. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Freyer?
Yeah, okay. I think, Ralph, you might have hit the nail on the head there. All of the capital expenditures that you got built into that model, did they include provision for inflation? I know if we're going to go 5 years out, seeing what we've seen over the last couple of years, are we locked in on those prices or costs, I should say? Or is there some factor in there that are increasing some of those expenditures within the next 5 years?
Yep. So Jim, to answer your question, Freyer, both the facility plan update for the treatment plant and the collection system with the projected projects that we propose to the state do have fairly high contingencies, because we are projecting outwards. Actually, the collection system is a 5-year plan and the treatment plant is a 10-year plan. So we did take that into consideration. We like to run the model annually because there's a lot of different dynamics that goes into the model. And you know, by running it or updating it annually, we're able to continue to update the current or the future 1 year look ahead, but really we're also looking at the 5 year projection. And that way we can continue to make those little tweaks annually as needed. What's nice with the model right now does not include any potential grants or low interest loans from the state that we have applied and we're hoping to receive in the near future.
Yeah, so that was my next question, was that you're being ultra conservative here, but reality is that are there other funds available that we could tap into the state, for example?
There are. We just put in this past year for 7 projects. So they have what they call the Clean Water Fund. So it's the key with these 7 projects is they have to rank a certain priority. So it really comes down to where we rank compared to other municipalities with projects that they're putting forward.
Do you have somebody on staff or that works on those grant applications to make sure that you try to increase our chances of getting as much as possible?
The WPCA works with the city's grant coordinator. She's, I believe, a part-time person with
Right.
the city.
Yeah. Is there, are there other consultants that we might want to look into? I know that she's very busy. I mean, almost every department we talk about is they're all relying on her to write a grant or many grants. So is this a more specialized area that we'd have to get somebody perhaps?
So what we do is we do have consultants, Brown and Caldwell's for collections, along with Wood and Curran. Arcadis is the treatment plant consultant, and we actually help write the grant paperwork, and then we run it through Rita because that is the city policy. So not that she's taking the lead on it, she's more just the acknowledgement that said, yep, looks good, go ahead and continue proceeding to submit. So we
Okay.
do use outside services to help.
Okay, great.
And I would just offer, Ralph, from Wood and Curran's perspective, if the city needs any support, even to take a look at something in some way, we have our grant and funding team, and more than happy to support you all.
Thank you very much, Anthony.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, it's 5:48. Item number 7, contract operation report. A, Veolia monthly operating.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you new here, Matthew Brown, project manager for Veolia, the contract operator for the wastewater treatment plant and the collection system. I'm just going to give you a brief update on our month of December. So the Veolia collection system team completed 1.7 miles of TV inspection. We cleaned just under 2 miles of sewer lines, and we did our SLRAT, which is a sonic and sonar inspection of the lines. We did almost 2.5 miles of that for the month of December. We did 45 IPP or grease trap inspections at restaurants and wherever there's grease traps throughout the city in the month of December. We've had an ongoing instrumentation project for our aeration basins, adding instrumentation. I talked about it briefly last month. Nitrate probes, RP probes, more oxygen probes, just for further process control for us on the facility. Our contractor actually installing the conduit and the actual devices has finished. We're currently waiting on Aaron Associates, which is our SCADA contractor. They're building a brand new panel, and they should be installing that hopefully within the next 4 to 6 weeks. We did reach out to them, just waiting on a few parts to complete it, and then they'll install it and tie it all into our SCADA system. As we all know, it was a very wet month in December. The facility did have 2 CSO events or Outfall 002 activation events. The plant did receive heavy rains. I mean, the city received heavy rains, so the plant flows did go over 30 MGD, so we did go out to our second outfall. On December 18th, the system activated for 8 hours and 30 minutes. We didn't discharge much over that time. It was a kind of a slow, steady storm. We discharged about 1.07 million gallons over that duration. All sampling and reporting was completed in accordance with the permit for that storm. The second storm we had was just before the new year on December 28th. The system activated for 7 hours and 19 minutes. Again, it was a slow, steady rain over the course of time, so we didn't discharge as much at all, 1.79 million gallons over the duration of that time. And again, all sampling, events, analysis, reporting was completed in accordance with the permit and all of our standard operating procedures. All the samples we took, including the storm samples, were within compliance. So everything met the permit for the month of December, and all reports were submitted to the CTD and EPA. As far as second, scroll down. So the average daily flow for the plant was 16.9, and which is elevated obviously because of the rain events that lasted in the wet month. And then the 180-day average flow is about 13 million gallons per day. Other than that, with the holidays, it was a quiet month. I don't have anything else to share. Is there any questions?
Tank stairs.
Thank you all.
Matt frozen.
Nope,
Did you
you're,
guys-
you're good, Mr. Chair.
All right, aeration tank stairs.
Oh, okay, yes, the aeration tank stairs. So the current stairs that lead up to our primary tanks and aeration tanks at the facility are long out of code. They're very steep, very narrow, and the concrete is pretty much falling apart. We've made some concrete repairs, but we've worked with Ralph and his team. We've procured some stairs, some prefab stairs, and we worked with AJ Penna when the weather permitting is going to come out and pour a concrete pad. So we're going to have a new area of egress to the aeration basins and primaries, and we're going to securely fence off the old stairs so they can't be used because they are a hazard. So that's one of the line items there. I think that was.
Great, thanks. Any questions for Matt? No? 5:53.
Thank you.
We'll move on to reports. Thank you, Matt. Reports, staff.
Yep, so item A is the fiscal year 23-24 Munis report was included in the board package. If anybody has any questions on that, otherwise I'm just gonna move on to the next item, which is the draft fiscal year 24-25 operating and capital budgets. So a copy was included in the board package. As noted on the draft operating budget, the anticipated sewer use charges was increased by 4.5% over from last year. A couple other items to note: the Wilton interlocal agreement, we're going to collect around 800,000. That was up from 600,000 because of increased flow from their end, and cost of the operating budget going up increased their budget line item as well. Nitrogen credits, we see a slight decrease just as over time projects or treatment plants have added nitrogen treatment or improved nitrogen, enhanced nitrogen treatment. So the state, it's a wash now. There's not much in nitrogen incentives or credits to convince municipalities to spend millions and millions of dollars to enhance nitrogen because they're achieving the Long Island Sound goals that they have with the adjacent states, New York and New Jersey. Does anybody have any questions with the operating budget? And then in regard to the capital budget, like we mentioned earlier, collection system over the next 5 years is just a little over 37 million that's being requested over 5 years, and the treatment plant is 30 million over 5 years. For this coming fiscal year, the collection system is 13.35 million, and the treatment plant is 10 million. And that's what we're going into the current budget season request.
Ralph, can I just ask a quick question on that?
Sure.
You know how you do those quarterly cash flows on for Chips May? Well, I
Yes.
guess every quarter. What's that 23.3 million looking like? Is that something you're gonna have an urgent need for, or spread out over a couple of years, or any sense of what the ask will be there?
What you said, the 23 million, or
Yeah, so between you got 13,350,000 for the collection system, and then the
Yep.
rehab improvement is 10 million, right?
yes, oh yeah,
That's the,
Yep.
that's the request.
that's the request.
Yeah, so
So-
assuming that goes through, what would be your ask, you think, for having cash on hand to meet invoices and payments?
So this is our, what we call our budget request, but it's not the cash flow. So you're right, like when we do the 2 year, so the
Mhm.
treatment plant is gonna push out a couple years because we submitted both the collection system report and the facility plan for the treatment plant to deep. They have not responded on either reports. So the first step is we need an approval letter from the state.
Okay,
Once we receive that approval letter, and we don't know when that's gonna happen. So we're sitting over a year now on the collection system side, treatment plant side is only a few months. So once we receive approval, then we can go ahead into design. And then we have to submit those design projects to the state for the approval. To be able to proceed with the construction project, go out to bid. So that is out of our control. So what we're doing is, because we do have a consent order with the state and it's a 5 year plan for the collection system, that's why the monies, we're moving forward on the city side. The state's just, we're waiting on the state to come back to us.
okay.
But we gotta be ready to be able to proceed as quickly as possible when they do.
So not looking for 23 million on July 2nd.
No, just the appropriation.
That's what I was hoping to hear.
Yes, yes.
Mr. Prater.
Ralph, can you give me some indication, with these delays that you seem to be getting from the state, is it likely that you're gonna be able to get that into this budget this year?
So we requested the monies. So we're ready if the state comes back and says, Norwalk, your approach, their plan is approved, please proceed. So the answer to that question is yes. We've actually been on the collection system side, because we know we have to disconnect catch basins from the collection system. We have a Hubble's Lane relief sewer project that's part of our 5 year plan. We're actually in design, and we're gonna
Yeah.
actually talk about it a little later in this meeting.
Yeah. So,
we're-
but I guess, go ahead.
I was
I'm
just gonna say also, the state recently has reached out to the team to do a meet and greet. The state engineer that was overseeing the Norwalk project, she was reallocated to the Hartford MDC area. So we now have another engineer from the state that's gonna oversee the Norwalk project. So the state reached out to us. We were actually supposed to have a meet and greet about a week ago, but they came down with an illness. So they postponed until sometime in February. We're just waiting to get dates back from the deep team.
And I guess, Tom, to your point, we've got to get this thing done with the budgets due in April.
Well,
Or actually May, I think, we get till May.
Yeah, so the capital, what am I looking at here? Yeah, April. Well, May 14th is when the bonding resolution goes to the Common Council, but we have our final numbers quite a bit before that. But the point of my ask was, it could be okay to approve it as long as we don't need the money right away. So the budget is one thing. It's when we go out to raise funds in September, when do we do it? August, September. That's why we do those cash flows. How much do we need? Do we need 30 million? Do we need 40 million? And the number that Henry was tossing around pretty commonly was about 50 to 60 million as our cap for this year. So Obviously, the WPCA and the parking authority, they pay their own debt. So we're not technically on the hook for it, but partially on the hook. In the unlikely event that either the WPCA or the parking authority defaulted, the city would have to pay those, but that's not likely, obviously.
It make you feel better, Tom, in August, Henry, the CFO, former CFO, bonded for the WPCA. So we do have bond monies available for construction. So as these design projects move forward and we get the go ahead, there is actually funding to start like the projects. Because the 5 year, we're breaking it into multiple projects over the course of 5 years. So as long as we start some construction, we'll meet DEP's guidelines. And then, like I said, we update the financial model includes all our what we believe is going to happen in timing and cash flow. So that's what's great about the financial model. And then we update it annually based on how things change, based on DEEP's approvals or other unknowns or variables that go into the model.
So when we actually go to,
Go ahead, Tom.
no, I was gonna say, so when we actually go to raise money, the 23 that may or may not get approved, may or may not require the cash right up front, given what they already have on hand. What it will add to is what Henry used to refer to as the overhang, approved but not bonded projects, which we have quite a bit of citywide, not just WPCA. And that's one of the limits that the rating agencies look at, and we're getting close to that limit, so.
Yeah, and that's what I was a little concerned about. That stuff that says hanging out there that we anticipated using, but for any number of reasons, it hasn't come to fruition. But that still is this big thing lurking in the background there that we have to be concerned about. The only good news about that is sometimes if you leave it there long enough, people forget about it and we move on to something else and it never gets spent anyway. And then we can take it back and move it someplace else. I mean, it's a delicate balancing job that Tom and the team have to do to make sure that we stay within a reasonable level and don't put the rating services and don't ring any alarms at the rating services that we're starting to creep up, getting closer and closer to that $50-60 million number that Henry had mentioned. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All good? 603C.
Right, discussion on WPCA engineering projects. So the first one, catch basin disconnect program. The WPCA board approved one project on Dry Hill Road earlier tonight. So that's 2 catch basins. Total, we have about 75 known catch basins connected to the city's sanitary sewer. Some on state roads. We put the state Connecticut DOT on notice that they're going to be developing projects to disconnect from city sanitary sewer. We are in design. We took 38 critical catch basins that we identified, and we're at we just finished what we call the basis of design report, which takes us to about 30% design for feasibility on disconnecting those 38 catch basins from the city's sanitary sewer and connecting them to the city's stormwater system. It's not as simple as disconnecting the catch basin, tying it to the storm, because what we have to do is meet 25-year storm event as well. We follow DPW guidelines. So some catch basins that look, oh, storm water is on the street, we can just disconnect. But what we realize is by adding that much more stormwater to the city's stormwater system, that we may end up causing flooding. So this design is taking all that into consideration, and we just received, like I said, a 30% design report, which the DPW engineering staff and myself are currently reviewing together to see what makes sense moving forward, so we can give feedback to the Brown and Caldwell design team. So that's currently ongoing. That's project 1. Project 2 is the Hubbles Lane relief sewer. And what we're looking to do is to install 36-inch pipe down Hubble's Lane to take flow from East Avenue and East Wall Street to relieve sewer on Wall and Smith Street. So take some flow down Hubble's Lane, and then where it ties into Smith Street is currently a 36-inch pipe. We would increase that to a 60-inch, and that 60-inch would tie farther down it by Moody's Lane, where we have a 60-inch that goes to the sanitary, to the treatment plant. So all this would help relieve too much flow in the Wall Street, Smith Street area. So that's a really good project. We're at 30% design currently on that as well. So both of these two projects are part of our 5-year consent order program with the state. But knowing that the city really has to move forward with these projects, we've started design, even though the state hasn't come back and said, yep, you guys are approved, this plan is approved, please proceed. The last project that's in design is the Keeler Brook Pump Station Replacement Project. The design is basically done. What we're working on now is the legal team is working with Eversource to get us, the city, a new easement on their property so we can build the new pump station. And then once that station is completed, we would demo the existing pump station and release that easement back to Eversource. So that paperwork's going back and forth between the legal parties on both sides. Any questions on the design projects? All right, item D, discussion on WPCA construction projects. The first one, the Samus and Bell Island Sewer Shed Rehabilitation Project, is a lining project. We're going to be looking to line about 48,000 feet of sanitary sewer mains, anywhere from 8-inch all the way up to 24 inches in diameter. A lot of the work is in the Bell Island and Samus Street sewer sheds. We do have some other areas throughout the city, like there's one pipe on Connecticut Avenue, a couple other crossings of the Norwalk River. I think it's on, was it River Drive? So we got some spot liners that we're going to install on just miscellaneous locations. In Situ Form is the contractor that's going to be doing this project. It's a 555-day construction project. Right now, we're gearing up. We had a kickoff meeting a few weeks back, and we're gearing up. They're going to be bringing in trucks, a couple trucks in the next 2-3 weeks to start cleaning and televising the pipes to be lined. And that information is going to go back to their team so that they can manufacture the liners. And then we'll have a schedule sometime a little bit later in the coming weeks when they're going to start lining project streets. There's 2 associations down Bell Island that we're coordinating with. We also will be coordinating with the engineering office, because for every setup, they'll be applying for a permit. So there's about 135 setups, I believe. So that project, like I said, it's at least cleaning is going to kick off in about 2 weeks. It's just a lot of paperwork right now for the engineering team to review. The next project is Collection Dreamy Hollow project, and this is the big DPW project. Majority of the sanitary sewer work under that contract is completed. Where they are currently is on Saddle Road. They're just finishing up, like I said, some of the sanitary sewer work, and they're continuing working on the storm drain system. And lastly, the pump station, 5 Mile Old Trolleyway, Karen Drive, and Woodward Avenue rehab project. 3 of the 4 pump stations are completed. They are working at Woodward Avenue to repair a concrete wall that we had shared pictures with previously to the board, where we had some rebar exposed and the concrete was popping. So we have a concrete expert that's breaking off the old concrete, going to be coating it and resurfacing the wall for the team. And then the main work is at the Old Trolleyway pump station that the team Kovacs Construction and their subs have mobilized, and they anticipate that work to be about 3 to 4 months. Any questions with any of the construction projects?
Smith.
I don't have a question about the projects themselves, but maybe there was an announcement last month and I did miss it, but did Nayla have her baby?
Yes.
I'm missing her presentation and all of her pictures.
Yes, she did. I think it was a 9 pound, 7 ounce baby
Oh.
boy.
Beautiful.
Yes, mom and baby came home. It took a little bit because, the size baby, it was
Big
a
baby.
emergency C-section, I believe. But everybody's doing well, and she's set to come back to the city early February, part-time for a month before
Okay.
coming back full-time.
Very good. That's a nice way to start the new year.
Yes,
With new baby. Well, please send her our best wishes and congratulations.
will do.
Look forward to
Thank you.
seeing her again.
Yes, same here.
I'll bet.
And then sewer use bills appeals adjustments to date is $52,421. And there are no information copies.
Are there any questions on anything contained herein or not contained herein? No? Is there a motion to adjourn? It is 6:11 PM.
So moved.
By Mr. Igneri, all in favor? Aye, Bovee, Ostafine, Igneri, Freyer, Manella, Smith. That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in a month. And thanks for
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Hey, everyone.